Howdy, class. There's been some confusion, and potentially most of this is due to my communication of what I'm looking for on the final curriculum project. As you may know or may not know, the final curriculum project is comprised of your end of modules 2 through 5. So as you work through them, they build upon each other. What I'm going to show you today, as you're seeing my screen, we're going to go through EOM 2, 3, 4, and 5, as well as I'm going to show you some examples of what I'm looking for, and maybe this will clarify some of the issues we are having. So within EOM 2, and remember, you've already done this, but this will hopefully give you ideas for edits before you turn in your final. EOM 2 was the beginning. Here's the idea where I ask you to create a schedule for a 3 to 5 day camp. Most of you had no problems with this, so this really wasn't an issue. So an example, let's go here. This is someone I'm from a previous class. I'm doing it. This is their EOM 2. This is their who, what, when, where, and how. They were doing a high school transitions camp. So they filled out the necessary information. They have their day one and their times, as well as notes for each activity. That's what I'm looking for. So you can see that. And then they go to day 3. They do the same thing all the way through their project. Every minute is accounted for. Okay? Then we get to EOEM 3. And so this is where some of you may have had some issues because it wasn't very clear. What I'm looking for in EOEM 3 is for you to take the activities that you just listed in your schedule, your main activities, whether they be fun and games or small discussion groups, large groups, however they are, and I want you to separate them, and I want you to describe each of them in a short description, as well as talk about the educational theories that you just learned. So for an example, in EOEM 3, here we have the program thing. So here are the activities, and I just wanted you to break them apart. So making camp, survival guide, exploration, scavenger hunt. And the example I want to show you is survival 101. So here you gave an example of what that survival 101 was. That's all I'm asking you to do. As well as I wanted you to consider how each of these went back into the EOEM 3 and the applications we had on learning. So let me scroll up here. When we talked about, here we go. So how do people learn? So what are we doing within the survival camp that is experiential? Now, it doesn't have to be all 4 of these, but I'm just going through it. What are they doing to inquiry-based learning? So are they asking questions? Are they learning through asking questions? So this is the intentionality I want you to put behind your activities. So you're not just naming them and listing them, but why are you doing that activity? Does the activity that you plan appeal to different learning styles, such as auditory or kinesthetic? Maybe some people like different parts of each particular activity. You need to consider who you're addressing. And I want you to write that out. I want you to write out that Survival 101 is performed by skits, or is skits that are performed by the troop leaders. So at this point, the participants are in an auditory situation. They're listening and watching others, auditory and visual. They're watching others perform these survival type skits. So you need to note that. In this example, they didn't, but I'm asking you to. And that's all you have to do for EOEM 3 is list it and then talk about the educational theories and how they apply to each one of these examples. So that's it. It's like 2 pages tops. All right. When we get to EOEM 4, here's where it gets slightly more detailed. And what I've asked you to do is to start doing activity plans or lesson plans. If you were in a school, these would be considered lesson plans. And so these, again, are going to take those same activities that you had here. And so Survival 101, and you're going to take the template that was provided and you're going to parcel out everything. So here's our activity plan. We have life skills session, the content, the contact, and the context. So you're going to go fill out that information. Then we start talking about activity goals. And this is basically just the short information of what that activity is. You're hopefully going to be informing people through skits. What are your objectives for doing this? Well, you're hoping that youth can learn from the upperclassmen of the do's and don'ts. You're hoping that youth can improve their knowledge and awareness of situations that may happen in high school. You're looking that youth may have the opportunity to serve as role models. And the learning style is going to be auditory and visual. That's what I was just talking about a minute ago. And so you're going to break it down and you're going to fill out all of these little boxes for each one. And then you take the next example in here, troop leader advice or campfire selection, whatever you want to do. And you go to the next group. And you do this for each one of these. Now, this is quite a long process because you're doing each one of those activities that you just listed in EOEM 3. And this is going to be a big portion of your paper. Then we get to EOEM 5. And this is a little, probably a little more, it's simple in one way and long in the others. I'll say that. So now you're taking a specific activity. So just one of those activities, and I want you to talk about how you can promote youth voice advocacy and engagement, okay? So those issues right there. So for an example, we have EOEM 5 here. So this is a planning activity that took place before the camp. And in this, they use the same template, and in the activity goal, they talk about how the counselors help plan a 3-day, 2-night program. Here, the counselors are the youth in this situation, and they're having input into the program. So they're having youth voice, they're having advocacy about what the program is going to be like. They can provide ideas and thoughts that they believe would help the program. And the adults and administrators in this situation should consider receiving these ideas and listening to the youth. And you go through, and where you can, within this template, you see that it's helpful to add in youth engagement, youth advocacy, youth voice. You start adding those in. You fill it out deeper, okay? And this is just one example. That's all I'm asking you to do. Okay, so then we get to what's going to be Module 8. Let me get there. And it's going to be your curriculum submission. So here are the details about the due date. Don't worry about that. Do worry about it, but we're not covering that today. So what you're going to do is you're going to combine modules, end of modules 2, 3, 4, and 5 into a professional uniform look. And it should have a table of contents, page numbers, and formatted it into an easy follow format. I want it into one single Word document, okay? And so here's how it should look with the table of contents, cover page, schedule, activity, and youth advocacy engagement. So those are the modules that we have, okay? And then here's how I'll grade it based on 50 points. And this is a potential example of what it can look like. High school survival camp. They have a table of contents where they list all the things that are coming up. They add in module 2 here. So this is coming into who, what, when, where, why, how they're doing it, and their initial schedule. It's a long schedule since they did a 5-day. Their activities definitions. Then they start looking at their evaluation plan. So they go through, and I told you it'll take you a while. This is where they use that template, and they go through each one of their activities, and explain all of the relevant information along with the template. So I'm just zooming through here. Started, so you can kind of see what's going on. And finally, they get to the EOM 5 when they talk about youth engagement, and they show their one example of how that works. Okay? That's it. That's how you put together the curriculum. So if you're missing things within EOM 2, 3, 4, and 5, you can go back and make edits to it before you turn it in. Now, I haven't got through, or I haven't finished grading EOM 3, 4, and 5, and I hope to get that done later this week. But you can start working on it now that you have an understanding of what I'm looking for. All right, if you have any questions, send me an email. Thanks. I hope this helps.